In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how I was able to build a 160 kilo bench press as a guy with average genetics and a naturally skinny build. So, for years and years, I watched loads of influencers and I took loads of advice on YouTube and Instagram on how to get my bench press stronger. And most of it was trash. They all said different things to each other. Some people said bench once or twice a week. Some said do like 3 or 4 times a week. Some said you need to focus on bodybuilding or you need to focus purely on powerlifting. All the opinions differed and there was no like consensus on what was best to do. And because of that, I wasted a ton of training years not really getting stronger. Like you probably watching right now, you're stuck at like a 100 kilo bench, 110, 120 kilos. That's the range that most guys tend to get stuck in, right? That's where I got stuck for years. It was so frustrating. I was doing like Wendler 531. I just kept grinding out super hard sets and the weight on the bar never really went up. I kept failing reps. So in this video, I'll tell you exactly what to do to build your bench press to like 140, 150, 160 and get super strong. So thing number one is frequency on the bench press. Now, I get pushback about this all the time, but if you want a big bench and you have mid genetics or you're a naturally skinny guy, you're not like a genetic freak, you're not on tons of gear, you need to bench frequently. Once or twice a week is not going to cut it for most of you watching. You need to go 3 or 4 times a week. Now, individualization is the most important part here. You need to find what you respond best to. But in my coaching experience, I've coached hundreds of people to get strong on the bench. Most people respond best to 3 or 4 times a week. I have a full video on this. You can go and watch it here. But very quick summary. The bench press is a skill. And in order to be an efficient bencher, to be proficient at the movement and to get super strong, you need to practice it often. Doesn't mean you need to bench press heavy every single session, but frequent practice will help you to get strong. If you do 1 or 2 really heavy bench press sessions right now, consider breaking them up into 3 or 4 sessions that are more manageable, give you more frequent practice, more opportunities to get better at the movement, and you will get stronger. Tip number 2 that I can give you is stop training your bench press to failure all the damn time. You don't need to be going in, grinding super hard reps, beating yourself up, obsessing about putting more weight on the bar every single session. That is what is holding most of you back. In order to get stronger, we need to be able to recover from the training stimulus. Now, basically, every single time you train, there are 2 outputs to your training sessions. Output 1 is fitness or stimulus. Output 2 is fatigue. Now, every time you push super hard and kill yourself in the gym, what happens is you get a ton of stimulus and you also get a ton of fatigue. And because of that, you can't actually add any weight to the bar and demonstrate the strength gains you've built. What we want instead is a pretty high stimulus and fatigue to be down here somewhere falling behind so that we can actually recover, adapt, and get stronger. Simple as that. So stop training to failure all the time, leave a few reps in the tank. Yes, you can do a heavy top set where you're pushing things a little bit, you're lifting heavy, but then do your back down work a little bit lighter. Try and fall somewhere in that like 70 to 80% range for sets of 4 to 6 reps. You're going to be leaving a few reps in the tank, recovering and actually accumulating some quality volume long term that will work to get you stronger. So those are my first 2 most important tips: frequency and stop training to failure all the time. Tip number 3, you need to focus on getting as big as possible. There aren't many guys out there who have got big benches who aren't jacked. You might get the odd outlier who's got like really efficient technique. He's got like a super big arch, a really wide grip, and he's just got really good at the bench without having a massive amount of muscle mass. For most of you watching, because I'm willing to bet that you watching this video, you don't have a huge arch, super wide grip and stuff like that. You need to get jacked. So you need to pick some bodybuilding movements for your pecs, your delts, your triceps, push them super hard, 2 to 4 sets, 5 to 10 reps, and focus on just beating the logbook and getting really strong at them. We can treat our strength work like skill practice, which it is, and not push it to failure. With the bodybuilding stuff, you want to be on the opposite side of that spectrum and just push it super hard, go close to failure, because the focus is on getting big. So those are my 3 main tips for the bench press. Now I'm just going to list off a few random tips that I've learned over the years that I feel like are going to help you to also build a stronger bench, and just things that I've learned from my own training and from my coaching experience. One tip I can give you is technique. Don't try and copy the technique of your favorite lifter because they're likely a genetic freak and whatever they do is going to get them strong. Try and figure out a technique that works for you. So that might look way different to someone else. For me, as a taller guy, I really like to have a setup where my feet are as wide and as far back as possible. So basically, I'm trying to get a really wide base of support. I want the feet right underneath me. That helps me to get my hips into extension, which then helps me to get a bigger arch, and it just feels really powerful to press from. Another tip is your grip width. Stop trying to take a super wide grip, because likely you don't have the arch to support that super wide grip. Most of you aren't going to get the benefits from having your grip all the way out here with like index fingers on the rings. You're just not built for it. Maybe you've got quite narrow shoulders, you've got quite long arms. What will happen is you get to the bottom of the lift and your pecs are so stretched out, you're in such a disadvantageous position that you can't press with much power. If you're trying to find your grip width, your like optimal grip width, use a grip that produces a vertical forearm at the bottom of the lift, okay? So just like this, with the wrist and the elbows stacked. This would be too wide, this would be too close. That's a good starting point. From there, you can experiment further and find what works for you. Now, along with grip width, the way that you actually grip the bar matters a lot as well. So too many of you are gripping the bar like this, full in your fist. And what happens is your wrist ends up like this, and then you're pressing. This is a really weak position to press from. Like, you wouldn't go and try and push someone, or, you know what I mean? Like, with that kind of grip. And it also means there's a lot of wrist movement and just wasted energy and lack of efficiency in the movement. What I would recommend instead is that you use a bulldog grip. You can go ahead and search that up on YouTube. But basically, a bulldog grip, you position the bar lower in the hand down here towards the palm, slightly internally rotate the hand. Hopefully you can still hear me. And we are pinching the bar like this rather than fully grasping it. So pinching, I'll try and show you a video of me actually benching as well so that you can see it. Basically what that does, it gets the bar closer to the wrist joint, gets the wrist a little bit straighter, so we've got our joints stacked, and then more of the energy from the arms, the load-bearing bones in the arm, are actually going into the bar rather than being wasted. It reduces that moment arm between the wrist and the barbell. So that's an efficient thing to use as well. You can play around with that and see if it feels beneficial to you. My final tip that I would give you is your programming matters a lot more than you think. And I've had loads of people come to me and say like, oh, does my program really matter? Like, as long as I train hard, like, won't I just get stronger anyway? Yes and no. Effort is very important, but having an individualized program is super important. We have scientific studies that show that if you take 100 people, put them on the same training program, maybe 10 of them will get super strong, super jacked. They'll respond really well to the program. 40 or 50 of them, so the average, will just see average results. They'll get slightly better, slightly stronger, slightly bigger. Then the rest of the group will actually get worse, or they won't get any stronger at all. They'll see no results, no matter how hard they train. So your training program is super important, and these generic intermediate programs like 5x5, 5-3-1, stuff like this, they are not going to be effective for most of you watching this. Yes, they might get you up to a 2-plate bench, a 275 bench, but you'll quickly stall out and realize that you need something individualized. I was exactly the same. I got stuck at a 2-plate bench for like 2 years. I got on something individualized, and then I hit 130, 140, and now I can bench 160, and I'm not even that jacked. So definitely get on something individualized. If you need help, click top link in the description. I got a few programs there, 3, 4, 5-day options. They'll get you strong, definitely stronger than what you're doing now. So yeah, really hope these tips helped you out. They've helped me go from, like I said, super skinny guy, failing the empty bar on bench, to now benching 160. Really hope they help you too. If you have any questions on the bench press, post them in the comment section down below. And yeah, good luck with your bench, and I'll catch you in the next one.